Are there any bills moving through the Senate this session that would aid Maui County's public education?
Yes.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
first
there's
one,
no-
the
I
first one we
imagine
did
there's
was,
many.
last week the Education Committee passed out two measures. One measure, which actually both measures deal with the Furlough Friday situation for this current year. So, the Senate has made it a priority. All of our members are in full support of getting or eliminating the Furlough Fridays and getting our students back into the public school system. And the ways we did it was one of the measures would borrow $50 million from the Hurricane Relief Fund and provide funding for the remaining furlough days for this year. And another measure would take either a combination of funds from the Hurricane Relief Fund and or the Rainy Day Fund. So, we're really committed to making sure that, our students are back into school. Obviously, it'll take more than just the legislature to appropriate these funds. We need the governor and the HSTA union to come to some agreement too. So we just want to, definitely show the legislative support behind these measures.
And there was another bill that's being considered by the Education Committee today, I believe it is, that had to do with increasing the minimum number of instruction days. I know I had a bill in for 190 days, there's one in for 200, but I think that the whole idea, and those bills were signed on by all of us, it's important that we let the people know that we really think there needs to be more education, more instruction time for our young people, and we're committed to moving that forward and then ultimately finding the resources to pay for it.
And I have a couple of bills that are specific to Molokai, Lanai, and to Hana, but will also affect the rural areas of the Big Island. And that is that the weighted student formula hasn't worked for the rural schools. And in fact, in a really dire situation in Hana, and is that they can't even provide the required courses for students to graduate. So they're not getting the resources that they need. So we put together a bill that will remove these schools, what we call remote schools, from the weighted student formula, return them to categorical funding so that we can ensure that the students' educations are whole, that they get equal education like everybody else in the state. And as we're speaking now, the bill is up for hearing in the Education Committee. Also, another bill that will have a great impact on Maui County is the one that will require the Department of Education to provide bus service. Right now, one of the considerations was to take out bus service as a way to save money. Now in Oahu, it's a different story. There's a public transport system. There's other ways for the kids to get to school, but imagine someone living in Kaupo that has to get to Hana. They have to wake up 2 hours earlier to get to school. And if we take out the bus system, there's no way for them to do it. So there's a bill that's moving today that will require the department to provide bus service.
Because if you all recall, during the summer, the Board of Education actually adopted a policy that reduced the radius in which the bus services would pick up students. So they went from a 1.5 mile radius down to a mile. So, those are some of the issues that we're trying to deal with, because obviously the student safety, getting to and from school is very important. So, we want the Board of Education to understand that it's something that's critical. And like Senator English said, we don't have the type of public transportation system that they have in downtown Honolulu on the neighbor islands.
Thank you. There has been an increase of endangered Hawaiian monk seals to Maui. Do you believe they require more protections?
Yes.
And it's to Maui County, Molokai, and
Yes.
there was a seal born in my village in Haneo'o in Hamoa this summer. And we watched how the community rallied around the seal, but around the seal to protect the seal, and knowing that you can't create human interaction, so they created a barrier. People stayed all day and all night to watch, and there was very little human contact with the seal. And but this was the first seal in about 10 years born in Hana. So just today, my committee, Transportation, Intergovernmental, International Affairs, along with the Water, Land, and Hawaiian Affairs Committee, heard two bills aimed at growing the awareness of monk seals in Hawaii. So we passed the bills out, and they'll probably go to the money committees next.
But it's really important that we take a look at all of the measures that are going to help our marine environment, help our reefs. We have just an incident the other day on the Big Island where they found hundreds of yellow tang and other reef fish that had been illegally taken probably, and then were just thrown away. And so we really need to raise awareness. We've been unsuccessful so far in getting additional regulation to protect our reef fish from over collecting for aquarium species, but we must redouble our efforts to do that, because one of the reasons that people come to Hawaii, and one of the things that's so nice about living here, is the abundance of life that's in our ocean waters, whether it's the monk seal or the humpback whale or all these beautiful fish. And we need to really step to the plate. So I'm delighted with the leadership that Senator English and Senator Tsutsui have provided in some of these areas, but we just have to step it up.
You know, we also have some other, I mean, it's related to environmental protection, but, you know, Kaho'olawe is, it's run by a special fund, and they're drawing down on that money. We still have to clean up the island. So we have a bill in that, you know, we find a nexus, right? We have a bill in that is basically asking for $5 per head for visitors that go to Molokini and dive in that area to look at the environment to help protect Kaho'olawe. And if we can get something like this passed, you know, we're not saying, we're telling the tour industries, you know, if you can say on your receipt that this $5, here's what we charge, this $5 goes to protect Kaho'olawe. But that would help to protect that environment. And I think that a lot of our visitors would understand and would say, okay, we're going out to look at the reefs, we're going out to look at the fish, and yes, we want to help protect it as well. So the bill is before the legislature. I mean, I'm trying to highlight some of the more creative ways we've come up with trying to fund our district, you know.
Okay, thank you. This is just more like an open question. Is there any particular piece of legislation that is important for you to become law this 2010 session?
I think there are several, and in fact, it's not only about, you know, a bill becoming a law, but sometimes we're here to try to stop measures from moving forward. And you know, one of them that I think has critical importance to not only Maui County, but a lot of the neighbor islands especially, is the attempt to try to take the transient accommodation tax away from the counties. And you know, I think it's something that, you know, Senator English, Senator Baker, and myself have adamantly opposed over the last several years. I know there's going to be another attempt. You know, we're really concerned. You know, the city and county of Honolulu, the amount of the TAT that they collect relative to their overall state budget is really insignificant. But when you look at some of the neighbor islands, we really rely upon that. And you know, our visitors do have an impact on some of our county facilities, our parks, our beaches, our roads. And so, you know, this is really the only way that the counties are able to recoup or try to, you know, fund some of these improvements, you know, to these areas. And so, you know, I think it's critical that we try to, you know, defend and protect the county and have them maintain their portion of the transient accommodation tax, and that's otherwise known as the hotel tax, room tax. And you know, and we're going to try to work hard, because ultimately I think that if the state does take the tax away from the counties, they'll really have no other option but to raise real property tax to balance their budget.
And you know, I for one, and I know Senator Baker agrees, and that we cannot allow the property owners in Maui County to bear the brunt of this. So that's why we're steadfastly against this move.